Good morning. Welcome to a video that discusses the Major League Baseball DraftKings main slate for Friday, April 14th, 2017. Hopefully you can make some extra money to pay off your taxes before Tuesday. And so we're going to talk about some really good pitchers that you should put in your lineups for the games today, as well as an interesting stack that we'll get into. So we're going to start with Noah Syndergaard, ace for the New York Mets. The guy has been incredible in his short career, and even more incredible against the Marlins. If you look at his short history against the Marlins, what really stands out is his record against Dee Gordon and Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton's never been able to hit Syndergaard, 0 for 11. You see a bunch of goose eggs everywhere, just one walk, and that's it. Kind of amazing when you think about how much money Stanton's being paid and has an awful record against a divisional rival like the Mets, especially against their ace. So we figure that should continue, those struggles. And then Dee Gordon, also not great, 2 for 9, 7 strikeouts. Syndergaard's obviously a great strikeout pitcher, which we'll get into in a sec. Of course, you see 32 strikeouts and 2 walks over 88 bats. That's amazing numbers for Syndergaard against the Marlins. But given that the leadoff and cleanup hitters are 2 for 20, .100 100 batting average, that's not very good. So Syndergaard should dominate the Marlins. Also, his record against the Marlins, again, short record, so it's not a great sample size, but Syndergaard has 20 innings pitched, ERA 1.8, batting against average of .240, again, 29 strikeouts, 2 walks. Yeah, not really the best numbers here for the Marlins against Syndergaard. So Syndergaard should dominate. Again, the guy's a rising star. Was a rookie 2 years ago, took the Mets to the World Series, which he lost to the Royals, but was very brilliant in his rookie season, 166 strikeouts to 31 walks. Improved those numbers significantly last year with just giving up 12 more walks, but getting 52 more strikeouts, a WAR of 5.3, and this year's off to a great start. 2 starts, 13 innings pitched, 16 strikeouts, no walks, a win, super low ERA and WHIP. Guy's just awesome. And if you look at his value, he is expensive, $11,400, but he's worth it. He's getting you about 2.5 to 3 DraftKings points per $1,000 in DraftKings salary. So he should continue that, especially given his record against the Marlins and especially against the leadoff and cleanup hitters for the Marlins. And here's Syndergaard's distribution of DraftKings points from last season. And you can see there's a significant area, pretty much past 20. He's definitely good for 30 or more points tonight. And of course, his ratio of DraftKings points per $1,000 salary. And we do see a peak at around 2.5. Also another peak a little bit lower. So may have had some struggles last year in terms of realizing value. But if you can do 2.5 points per $1,000 DraftKings salary, we could definitely see a 30.9 from him. Okay, for comparison purposes, let's talk about Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw's another ace, and there's a lot of great options for pitchers tonight. Kershaw's very tight distribution when you look at his DraftKings points for $1,000 salary compared to Syndergaard's. Kershaw's been obviously one of the best pitchers for the last few seasons, future Hall of Famer, and can definitely, you see a little bit of a bump at around 3.5 to 4 DraftKings points for $1,000 salary. So, yeah, I mean, the guy can get you a great game. But there's an issue with Kershaw, and it's really his splits for the last 3 seasons. If you look at how he's done in April from 2014 and 2016, and also just against the Arizona Cardinals in that same time frame, not the greatest. I mean, of course, if you're striking out 83 batters and only walking 10 in 68 innings, that's really, really good. But we're talking about Kershaw here. Kershaw usually has an ERA of 1.5, usually has a strikeout to walk ratio that's greater than 8. And usually doesn't allow a batting average more than 200. So the fact that the batting against average is 230 for April, the ERA is 3.03. His record's 3-3. This is over 10 games started. So you're not going to really get the best from Kershaw until later in the season. Usually he tends to warm up, and then he becomes that unhittable ace for most of the season. Again, against the Cardinals, I mean, good record, 5-2, but 4.07 ERA, .274 batting average. Arizona is hitting the ball pretty well. So, yeah, he might win the game and he's pitching at home in LA and will probably do pretty well. Might get you 10 strikeouts, maybe won't walk anyone, may give up a run or two. But for the value, for $13,500, it's probably not worth it. Syndergaard's probably a better value for savings of $2,100 and can get a better offense. So we may want to fade Kershaw tonight. So who else should you get as pitcher? Dallas Keuchel is a good option. He's been really strong so far this season. He's got great records against Chris Davis and Rajai Davis. They've never hit him. Just like D. Gordon and Stanton not being able to hit Syndergaard, Chris Davis and Rajai Davis can't. Rajai Davis kind of bats in a lot of different positions in the lineup. He could be leadoff, could be second, could be ninth. But Chris Davis is a cleanup hitter. And again, if the cleanup hitter is not doing well against the opposing pitcher, that's not a good sign. So we expect Keuchel to do well. His record against the A's is pretty solid, OPS of .587. They've never homered off him. Weather's a little cool in the Bay Area. They're playing in Oakland. So, that can be a pitcher's park. So that's a good option if you're going to go for Keuchel. His record against the A's, again, is very solid. They are division rivals, and he's been pitching against them for a while, so there's a very rather significant sample size here. 1.91 ERA over 66 innings pitched. The strike of the walk ratios could be better, but given the fact that Keuchel could win this game, getting those 4 points and not allow many runs and get you innings, which is huge, he probably should get you about 7 to 8 innings. You can see he does average more than 7 innings per start against the A's for the last 3 seasons. And playing at the Overstock.com Coliseum, I like to still call it the Oakland Coliseum, but still a pretty good record. 4 games started, 29.2 innings pitched, so you can get you about 7 to 8 innings, low ERA. Again, wish we had better strikeout numbers, but he should be fine for tonight. And also is pretty cheap compared to the other aces out there. His distribution not as tight that you expect from Syndergaard or Kershaw, but still we see a ratio of about 2.5 DraftKings points per $1,000 salary. Fairly significant area that's more than 2.5, so we could see a strong night from Keuchel. And so far he's been great this year, even though they lost 7-3 to the Royals in his last start. Still gave you 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run. His bullpen just failed him. Offense wasn't really there from all the way, but kept his pitch count low, which so he's a very efficient pitcher. Definitely get you about 2.53 DraftKings points per $1,000 salary. So in summary, we like Syndergaard and Keuchel. Oh, that's a typo. My apologies. I shouldn't say Hamels. Should say Syndergaard. So Syndergaard, not Hamels. My apologies. Is $11,400. Keuchel, $9,600. Syndergaard is the real deal, and he's ready to be one of the top 5 pitchers for quite a while. And his awesome run support doesn't hurt either. I mean, Cespedes has been playing unreal right now. Jay Bruce can get you some production too, so he'll probably get some run support and get you the win. Keuchel, very consistent, great record against Oakland, and probably I'd fade Kershaw. He's obscenely expensive and not a great history against Arizona. So let's move on to offense. So we got the Anaheim Angel stack. It is interesting that I bring up the Angels. Not a team that you may expect. I mean, we've seen the Mets and the Orioles and the Phillies or the Nationals go off the last few days. So who might go off tonight? It's really anyone's guess. I mean, there's 26 teams you can choose from, a lot of different stacks. You can make a lot of different lineups. But we like the Angels. The correlation so far this season, so we're not going to look at 26, we're going to look at the correlation this season, which you could find that data on the ASA website for last year, but not quite this year. But I did a little bit of a correlation analysis for you guys. And we see that Pujols, Simmons, Escobar, Calhoun, and Cron do have a very strong correlation. Just to give you a quick peek before we look at it in more detail. We do see the correlations for those hitters I just mentioned. And, small sample size, only 10 games. A 16th of the season has been played so far. But, I think now it's time we can start looking at some data now that we're 2 weeks into the season. So we'll get into those correlations in a sec. You got to have Trout though. Even though Trout may not have the correlation, he's Trout. Yeah, he's been, I think, first or second MVP voting for the last 5 seasons. Um, he's definitely the Mickey Mantle of this era. Great ball player. You'd be remiss not to have Trout in your lineup. Royals pitching's one of the worst so far this year. ERA 4.57, batting against average 0.256. The strikeout to walk ratio is horrendous at 1.4. So the Royals were kind of known for the pitching for the 2014-2015 season, but this year they've been off to a poor start. Angels' offense is strong. It's a top 5 offense. Batting against average batting average 0.276, OPS 0.771. Given that the Royals are a bottom 10 pitching, Angels' top 5 offense, we see the stars lining up here. Duffy is a solid starter. He is a lefty though, and there is a rather significant difference in his splits against lefties and righties, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. And we'll talk about weather too. The wind is blowing really hard to left field at Kauffman Stadium today, with one of the lowest air density indices for the day. I think about 62 or 63. So the ball should fly, especially if you got a left-hand pitcher go against some really strong right-hand power like Pujols or Trout. So we could see some home run derby at Kauffman Stadium today. Now here's the correlation. We have the typical lineup for the Angels. You have Escobar, Cahoon, Trout, Pujols, Simmons, Maben, Cron, Espinosa, Maldonado. Who knows who might start catcher, but we'll avoid catcher, even though we do see a pretty good correlation with Maldonado and Calhoun and Espinosa. But getting a correlation that's over 0.6 is pretty good. Pujols and Escobar, as well as Calhoun and Simmons, Pujols and Cron, if Cron does start. Cron and Simmons also strong. So I would say some sort of combination with Escobar, Calhoun, Pujols, Simmons, and Trout, or if you want to throw Cron in if he's starting, that could be a pretty good option. Duffy, not much of a sample size against the Angels. He's actually pretty well against him, so you do have to take a little caution here. Trout has homered off him as well as Maben. But what's interesting is if you look at the splits, lefties versus righties, and this is significant. This is from the last 3 seasons. 342 at-bats against lefties, over 1,300 at-bats, nearly 1,400 at-bats against righties, and huge delta between the batting average and OPS. So Duffy, even though he's not terrible against righties, righties can hit him a lot better than lefties can. And then if we look at the weather, air density is at 62. Most of the air indices for today are in the 70s for most stadiums, so 62 is pretty darn low. It's clear weather, warm in Kansas City in the mid-70s. Wind is blowing to left field, which is great for right-handed hitters. Wind is about 15 miles per hour, might be up to 20 miles per hour by game time. So definitely it would be a pretty good idea to go with an Angel stack. And then, of course, just fit in whatever you can with whatever money you have left over. All right, well, good luck, and hopefully you can take down a $100,000 prize and pay off your taxes or buy a vacation home or whatever you like to do with the money, or you can buy a new Tesla. But anyway, good luck.